going to run through the delivery settings with you. And so you can decide which settings you want to turn on or off for your business. As with Digital Florists, a lot of our settings are customizable because we like you to be able to run your business the way you want to do it, and we're just giving you the tools to make that job easier for you. So if we go into settings here and we go to general, and then you scroll down this bar over here and there's one called delivery. Now I'm just going to scoot down to the bottom here because the reason I'm doing this video is to show you and talk about where the background location tracking is. But whilst I'm at, I'm actually going to go through some of the other settings. But if you just wanted to know about this setting, this is where it is. When you check that box like that where it's enabled, that means that the driver won't be able to start a run or continue a run if you have enabled it when he's in the middle of a run without enabling the tracking, the always on tracking. Now it's important to let you know here that always on tracking, you're actually only able to see where the driver is when there's an active run. You can't see them at any other time. And what it means is that when you have a little delivery run on the go here, you'll see a little D and you'll be able to see exactly where your driver is at any point, and it will give information about when the driver has stopped, how long they've been at stops, if they have stopped for a longer time away from stops. It's a little bit Big Brother, but I'm sure you can understand that'd be quite useful for you. And it's also useful for another feature we have, which is where your customers can log in and track their delivery. So it is crucial if you want your customers to be able to do that the drivers have that tracking on, because if they turn it off, then it makes it useless. So it's also quite useful for you to have that tracking on your drivers. So blame us when they can't start their run about the tracking. And, blame us, it's for that feature, and it's got to be done now. The other thing you might want to activate in along with that is what we call punctuality monitoring. Now, the punctuality monitoring means that the system will keep a log of your driver's performances, and you might be able to spot patterns and things and maybe just see where extra help is needed. So to do that, you click enable that. You can decide what you consider to be a late threshold, and you can change your minutes there and a very late threshold. And you can do that in this part here, and then when you go to the analytics, there will be some information about your drivers, about how well they are hitting these targets. Now there is something that is connection with this. This is the time allowed at each stop. You can edit that. So part of the punctuality monitoring is that they need to be able to hit their stops in the an acceptable amount of time gone by what the roads are, what the mapping is suggesting they should be able to get to the stop by, and then you can allow a certain number of minutes for them to be able to get out the car, do the delivery, etc. You can adjust that here. And if you think the routes are maybe just a little bit too optimistic, you could maybe just give them 7 minutes to stop rather than the standard 5 minutes, and then that would make it, I guess, a little bit fairer if you feel that they can't reach that in that time. So again, you're in control of these things, but hopefully you find the always on tracking and that punctuality monitoring useful for your staffing. While we are here, I'm just going to quickly run through the other settings that are in the delivery part of the settings, just because there are other things in there that you may find useful. So over here, mark orders as ready automatically when creating a delivery run. not every florist marks their orders off as they go or use that ready button as a way of keeping track. So you can just do it so the system marks it off automatically when you create a run. If you're using that ready button to create orders, to see who's done what, who's created what, and or if you're creating runs and then asking your florist to build those runs based on a van that's already made up, then you'd want to disable this, and that is because you wouldn't be able to keep track of what's been made or who's made what. Auto lock route plans in advance. This one I would probably advise having that on, and that is because the routing goes on live traffic data. If you maybe plan a route, especially at peaks we do this, the night before or a couple of days before, it only knows what the traffic is then. It doesn't know necessarily what the traffic is at that time of the morning. So something may have changed in that time which will make the routing want to do the routes a completely different way. And if you've planned that route or packed a van or something like that, you really don't want the routing doing that. So you want it to auto lock that route. There is a new feature when you plan routes now. You can actually set departure time, and the mapping will use the usual traffic of that time of the morning, but there is still anomalies where it might decide to send you a different way. So we would advise you keep that enabled for any routes that are planned in advance. Respect time requests by default. That is things like your AMs, your PMs, if something's got to be there for a certain time and that sort of thing. The routes are clever in that sense. It can work out what the best route, whilst also taking into account your AMs and things like that. If you're creating a run in real time, it does expect that run's about to be leaving. So unless you put that planned departure time in, it thinks you're leaving now. So it might think you'll be able to get all round your AMs if you're planning an hour out, and actually when the driver leaves they won't be able to. So just bear that in mind if you are having this one enabled. Warn before starting runs with unpaid orders. You may be in the habit of taking orders and you've got somebody who comes in who says, I'll drop the cash off beforehand. We find this happens a lot around Valentine's Day for us, and you get the order on the system and then you have to keep track of whether he's come in and paid for his order, so you don't accidentally let it out without him paying for his order. Well, if you enable this, if you try and put an unpaid order onto a run, it won't stop you, but it'll just alert you, so you can decide whether you actually want to take that off the run or not. Keeping nearby deliveries together. The routing works on the most efficient circular route from the shop. Sometimes the most efficient circular route might be doing one stop really close to your shop and then doing a big circle and coming all the way around and doing another delivery that's also really close to your shop. We found some people didn't like that because they would rather get rid of all their close ones first. They don't want to be driving around in a car, especially in this hot weather, with loads of deliveries on. And also, I guess for tracking purposes, if they don't quite, if the driver, if they know that, if a customer knows that they're close to the shop, when they get your orders out for delivery, they go, my delivery must be coming soon. Not factoring into the account that actually it might be a 2-hour run and they're at the end of it. So you can keep those nearby deliveries together so that you don't, and you can kind of keep them within a certain amount of time. You can set that. If you enable that, you can then choose how close together, and then it just means you're not getting that thing where you feel like you're getting thrown all over the show because it's keeping them all together. This one we have done before, the time allowed at each stop. This is to do with when you export. So if you're not using the app to do deliveries, you're using a printed version. If you want the customer details to show on there, such as the phone number, so the driver can phone the customer if needed, you would just need to enable that there and they'd be able to see it. You can also hide the customer details if you don't want things like that to show on the app. What 3 words? Some people have requested use what 3 words, or I think their website automatically puts the what 3 words in. So if you enable this here, you can use what 3 words for your routing. You just need to enable that box. Over here, photo required before deliveries. If you require that, you just enable that box, and the driver will need to take, or the person making the orders will need to take a picture before it goes out on delivery. Photo required for deliveries, that means that the driver has to take a photo to mark it as delivered. Require background tracking and location, we've already covered. Customer tracking links, that is if you want the customer to have the tracking links available to them, you check that here, and that means that in your notifications you'll have your tracking links within your notification. So when your customer gets the delivery, they get those tracking links. Share delivery photos with customers by default. This one is if your florists are taking pictures of the orders as they're making them up, maybe because you want their pictures to go to the customer rather than the ones on the doorstep, you can enable this, and these ones will be shared with the customer on delivery confirmation. So maybe giving you more control. Maybe you've got a driver who doesn't like taking photographs, so you can take those photos as you go, and these photos will go out to the customer. And punctuality monitoring we've covered. But hopefully you can see that all of these settings give you a lot of control over your delivery and being able to run your delivery runs the way you like to for your business.